Okay, so now we're on bus number 40. So-called Pocket Express. That's a Nova Republica. Not the cleanest windows in the world, but that's okay. It's a Monday afternoon. It's about 1:30 in the afternoon. Roman street scenes here. Nazionale. We're going to the, this is the route we took to get to the art museum and concert. Prenatal, that's a mother and a baby store. Pregnant lady store. Bank of Italy, Banca d'Italia. Looks pretty bank-like, wouldn't you say? Some walls. There's Jan's little bus. Turistico bus. I do not know what this tower is. I'll figure that one out one of these days. Museum of the Imperial Forum. Oh, okay, so we're in the back part of the forum. Okay, I get it. There's the Trajan column. Pastorito. That's a chain restaurant of pizza and pasta. We ate at one last night. It was quite good. For Rome, anyway, reasonably priced. Now we're coming into the Piazza Venezia. There's Altar of the Nation, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. You see the guards up there, the eternal flames. Somebody has scratched this window, which is, you can see the scratches. It's the Via del Plebiscito, Plebiscite Street. There was a plebiscite to join the Kingdom of Italy. About 1870 was before that happened. Early 1870s. Where we're going, we're headed for the Janiculum, which is where Garibaldi fought the French in 1845, maybe. This is the Costanza Vittorio Emanuele, first king of Italy. And that altar of the nation actually is the Vittorio Emanuele II monument, but it's also the altar of the nation and the tomb of the unknown. I may or may not make it to the oh, look at that gorgeous thing. Oh, there's a little forum. It looks like a Republican forum. Anyway, I was about to say I may or may not make it to the Museum of the Risorgimento. Now, my choice is get off here or go one more stop. So I think I'm going to go one more stop. I have to catch the 870 bus up to the Janiculum. I could get off here and walk half a mile to the bus stop, or get off at the next stop, figure out where I am. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm firmly committed to it now. That was the Argentina Square. It's a massive church. St. Andrea Basilica. It appears to be a papal basilica. Museum of Ancient Sculpture. There's one I missed. There's another gigantic museum. People are getting ready to get off. I'm going to get off here and then figure out where I am. Okay, jump. Actually, this is a place where Jan and I were the other night. Chiesa Nuova. We were looking for the Piazza Navona, which is just down that street. We were kind of lost, and I saw the Piazza Navona sign. I said, we are in luck because we get to go to the Piazza Navona. So now I gotta look at my map, figure out where I'm at, find that square where bus 870 is. Okay, so I lost my map, left it on the bus, but that's okay, because I just walked up here a little ways and found the stop for 870, which goes up to Piazza Garibaldi, which is where we're going. Okay, so now bus 870 going up to Garibaldi Square. There's our friend the Castle St. Angelo. Oops. Uh-oh, a bunch of people getting on the bus. We made it to the Janiculum on the bus. There's the equestrian statue of Garibaldi. The famous Roma o Morte, Rome or death. That's referring to a later part of the Risorgimento. He was the battle he was up here for was I want to say 1845, maybe a few years later, and he famously defended the Roman Republic from the French. There had been a revolution where the Republic declared. Garibaldi came down here. The French attacked to restore the Pope to his rightful place, and Garibaldi held the French off for some period of time. He directed the battle from up here. Later on, Rome became part of the Italian kingdom. But Vittorio Emanuele actually forbade Garibaldi from taking Rome after the unification of the rest of the country, and it wasn't until a few years later that Rome became part of the Republic. Now, when Garibaldi defended Rome from the French, he was up here on the Janiculum Hill, and it's easy to see why. From up here you could see everything, but the French were up to everything. I'll get the television out, but for now I'll use the 40mm lens. Now you see the altar of the nation. Of course, that wasn't there at the time.
No, non è che lo aspetto, ti sto dicendo che visto benissimo.
Too bad these doggone trees are in the way. There he is, on horseback. Father of this country. There he is, the great man himself, Garibaldi, affectionately known as Gabardi. Jan's going to the Gabardi restaurant tonight in Florence, named after him. He's kind of like, I don't know, kind of like George Washington. tree. We've seen a lot of Garibaldi sites in Sicily, now Rome. He was in Naples. Okay, so here are some of the heroic figures on this monument. Notice how the people are dressed. They're not really in uniform. These guys were irregulars. That's probably a soldier of the Bourbon king. They were regulars. Dressed in a cloak. I'm sure that's a personification of Italia. Roma or morte. Now, these guys with the feathers on their hats are Bersaglieri. Those are probably the troops of Vittorio Emanuele, who from Piedmont. They were more like regular soldiers. They ended up getting in the act, of course. Bersaglieri, after the Allied invasion of Italy, they're the ones who tried to hold the line. They're about, the best soldiers in the Italian army, other than the Alpini. They're also famous for their military bands that run while they play. There's Garibaldi, or his horse. Okay, so now I've got the photo lens on, big time. There's the Vittorio Emanuele monument. Unfortunately, because of the trees, I can't see either St. Peter's or, well, you can't even see the river, but the river's at the foot of this hill. I can see some other major churches. I don't really know what they are. I have to get the map out. Palaces. So what we can't see is the Vatican or the Mausoleum of Hadrian. There's an office building way over there. But if these trees weren't here, you would definitely have a commanding view of Rome. I'm going to write a letter to the Italian government and ask them to cut the trees for the next time I'm up there. And there's some mountains beyond them. Sure what I'm looking at, but could that be the Pantheon? That domed. Might be. I don't know what else has a dome that size in this town. nice ruins. I'm wondering if that's the Forum on the one hand, or Janiculum's baths on the other. Can't tell. By the way, I was wrong about the river. You see that line of trees down there? I'm going to follow that line of trees. That has to be the river.
Okay.
We're on the other side of the
It's
river.
on the side.
It's the main part of the road. Like I said, unfortunately, I lost my map. Having lost my map, I can't get it out and figure out what all these churches are. There's the Tiber again, the line of trees. Okay, so that's got to be the Supreme Court that I was standing in front of the other day. The Hadrian's Mausoleum is going to be just on the other side of those trees, and St. Peter's is going to be over there somewhere. Okay, there's a nice little walkway here and park. This would appear to be members of the Garibaldi family. Bruno, Costanza, various heroes of the Risorgimento. Little bus to them. Okay, so I only had to move down to the next little square. This is a nice little monument here on the 150th anniversary. Of the Italian Republic. And a nice view of Hadrian's Mausoleum. There it is. St. Peter's would be way over there to the left someplace. But this is a better view than up above. There we have the Pantheon again. Oops. Okay, so this is a statue to Garibaldi's wife, who famously fought with him. She was a tough gal during his campaigns. She took sick and died. So they have her riding into battle with a child, little bambino, holding the bambino as she rides into battle with a pistole. One tough gal. And it turns out she's buried here. How about that? Now, I don't know if that's Anita or if that's Italia, because certainly Anita's up there. There's Anita tending to somebody wounded in a battle. Now this is Garibaldi carrying her after she died. She died on one of his campaigns of a sickness. The sign said this is Anita looking at Garibaldi among the dead after a battle. Okay, so we're still on the Janiculum Hill, and this is a monument which we'll figure out in a minute what it is. We'll look over here. Off in the distance, San Pietro. Okay, so this is really nice. This is the monument dedicated to Italy from the Italians of Argentina in 1911. It's a lighthouse. And you can go up it, although it's not open. It does have a spiral staircase. Okay, so that is the way up the Janiculum hill, and I took a bus up there and walked down there. Okay, while doing a little research on my mother's confirmation saint, St. Agnes, I found out there's a St. Agnes church, which I wouldn't just go to any old St. Agnes church, but this is one that was built like in the 7th century. So this is an oldie but a goodie, and I want to go see it. So I've gotten off at the Santa Agnese Annibale exit. I'm not sure what Annibale is, but that sure looks like some kind of a little amphitheater over there, or a mini coliseum. So we'll go check that out too. Okay, so here's the beautiful little Church of St. Agnes. Question is it going to be open? It doesn't look too open to me. But it's a gorgeous little church. Old. I think it's 7th century, 6th century, I'll find out. And there's the inside of those walls we were looking at. Interesting, it's just walls. Huh. Well, it turns out this isn't St. Agnes. This is the Mausoleum of Costanza. St. Costanza. Not sure who she is, but we're going to go in. This is an ancient... I don't know anything about this place other than to say it is old. I'm wondering if it's some kind of converted Roman building. Some gorgeous mosaics. I'm moving fast because, as usual, I don't have a lot of memory on this card. And I lost my other card back at the ranch. Gotta find out about this place. Okay, I got it figured out. This is a 4th century mausoleum to Costanza, who's the daughter of Constantine. And so those mosaics up there are 4th century. Now here, this is a reproduction of the porphyry crypt of Costanza. We saw the original of that in the Vatican Museum the other day. This is outstanding. This is fantastic. 4th century building preserved all these years. Unbelievable. This is Rome. You just find places. You see the most amazing stuff when you least expect it. Now, obviously, some of these mosaics are a little later. Well, I don't know. That looks That looks like a 4th century. I'm going to put a little more money in the light box. Gorgeous. Look at this. This is amazing. This has been sitting here for 1,700 years, waiting for me. Now, this thing is domed, but it's obvious the frescoes on the dome are not 4th century. And of course, being frescoes, they have not maintained their fresh beauty like the mosaics have. Here's an altar. Well, isn't this just the perfect little Roman building? Look at this. So, this is my second, oh my God. No, my third, oh my God, reaction on this trip. The first was the walls of Livia. The second was St. Paul's. And now, the Mausoleum of Costanza. This is so achingly beautiful. Look at that. One last look around this place. The nuns who run this place, they got that. They got the light thing fixed up like a slot machine. You put in your 40 cents. You look at some mosaics. The lights go off. You go put in another euro. You look at some mosaics. The lights go off. It's great. There's another couple in here right now. They came in while I was in here. And once they figured out the lights and they knew I'd put in some moolah, they started putting some in too, which I appreciated. Okay, enough of this place. It's off to St. Agnes Church. Okay, those are the bells of St. Agnes that we're hearing. Which would appear to be up that way. There's a bell tower. We're leaving the Mausoleum of Costanza. See some of the pines of Rome. There's the bell tower. Okay, so this is the Basilica of St. Agnes, who, there's a catacomb down here. St. Agnes was, of course, martyred at the Piazza Navona. Her remains were brought up here over a catacomb. Her skull was left at, or was later moved to the St. Agnes and Agony Church, Piazza Navona. Okay, I only got to take a couple of quick pictures in here because it's closing and I just got kicked out. Unfortunate, because I'd like to spend some time in here. Wow, it's gorgeous. But on to the next thing. Quick shot of what it looks like outside the church. It's a very prosperous residential area. I mean, flower stall on the street. Nice sycamore trees. Very nice. Okay, going back to the station, but I thought I'd show you a picture of a little girl and her mother. She's got her Disney princess backpack. Now, when I first came up here, turns out I was wrong on every count. That's not the Church of St. Agnes. That's the Mausoleum of Costanza, and boy am I glad I went there. That's not a mini Colosseum, it is rather just some supports for what appears to be a park. Maybe there was something on top of that at one point, but it's just a flattened out area up there, and it looks like retaining walls, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So we're going to go back down to the station, and we're going to get on Il Treno. We're going to go back to the central train station. I'm going to walk back to the apartment, get my 64 gigs of memory, which I forgot, and then we'll head over to the Janiculum. I should mention that this is the day that Jan is on her way to Florence. And here's some more of this residential, prosperous residential area I was talking about. You don't see any. Well, actually, I take it back. There is some graffiti over there, but that's about the only graffiti I've seen around here. And the metro station is very nice and very clean. Last night up at EUR, I didn't want to take a picture of it, but there was an army vehicle with some army guys, and the army vehicle had a sign on it that said Operation Safe Streets. And I'm thinking, whoops, if this were a safe area, EUR at night, maybe I wouldn't have, maybe there wouldn't be these guys here, the Operation Safe Streets. Anyway, to the train station, subway.
Lovely.